Do we have to have our cameras on or no?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
All right, we got our first attendee in. John, welcome. Welcome, everyone. We got a lot of people here. We're just waiting for a couple more that signed up. Make sure everyone has a chance to jump on before we start. We should be starting here in a couple minutes. All right, guys, looks like we got most of our attendees on, and hopefully they start trickling in. Of course, this webinar will be recorded and emailed to you after if you weren't able to make the whole webinar. But I'd like to begin. Thank you all for joining us today. We are excited about this topic. Today's topic, of course, is monitoring latency for mobile gaming. And you have myself, Nathan. I'm an account executive here at Metricfire, and then my teammate Parker, who's our support engineer. Go ahead and say hi, Parker.
hi Nathan. Hi everyone.
And the agenda for today is first, why is latency important? Two, what should I measure when I'm looking at latency? And then Parker is going to take us through a live demo, and we're going to finish with Q&A. So let's begin. All right, first, now why do you need to monitor latency? First and foremost is to keep the gaming experience great. We've all had experience like this guy on the right is super excited as he's playing his mobile game. Everything's happening as a developer expected it to be. Everything's performing the way you want it to. And so the consumer that is engrossed in the game, everything's happening at real speed, they're having fun, and they keep playing their game. But we've also had the experience on the other side of it where we start playing the mobile game and it's slow and it keeps pausing, it keeps freezing, and we're taken out of that experience. And if you're like me, you just leave the game and you go to something else on your phone. You go Instagram or whatever. You move on to the next thing. And so that's the first thing. Just keeping that gaming experience great is so important. And then the second is you can't fix what you can't see. And so you might think that you have the perfect system set up, that your server requests are coming in fast, that there's no issue and there's no need to monitor latency because everything's perfect. Well, if you can't see what's going on, the first time you will see what's happening is in the mobile store in the review section. You'll get a review like this where saying the game takes forever. It's slow, don't download this game, it's a waste of money, whatever it might be. That might be the first time you notice that something's wrong with latency in your game. And don't let that happen to you. Because guess what? Your competition, they are monitoring this. As we know, mobile gaming is a very competitive market right now. And so if you're not on top of your latency and making sure your gaming experience is great for your consumer, the guy down the road is, and he's going to give reviews. He's becoming the editor's choice in the app store, whatever it might be, because he is making sure that he's on top of latency. And if something goes wrong, he can go in and fix it right away. Now, so that's why latency is important. Now, what should I monitor when I'm looking at latency? That's the next question. So first and foremost, it's your server request. This is the bread and butter. Make sure that this is on point is your number one objective when you're monitoring for latency. You want to make sure everyone's having a great experience. Like I was saying before, everything is happening the way you designed the game to happen. And then second is page loads. This little graphic comes from a Google research. It's very simple, but you can see just 3 seconds. You make your consumer wait 3 seconds for the page load, your bounce rate increases 32%. If you go all the way down to 10 seconds, which, in grand scheme of things, in real life, 10 seconds isn't that long, but when you're playing a mobile game, when you're on your phone, 10 seconds can feel like eternity when you're waiting for that page load. And people leave at an increased rate of 123% when it gets up to this high. And once they leave, it's very hard to get them back. Like I was saying, the competition's stiff. So they leave, they go back, they go to the next game and see if that's faster. And the third thing is purchase actions. This is something that a lot of our customers are monitoring because buying something in a mobile game is a very emotional experience. And you want to make sure that purchase action is happening quickly. And that way they don't lose that emotion. You might have built a great new golf club or sword or weapon, whatever it might be in your game, and they're excited to purchase it. Their emotion's high, and the longer they wait, the lower the emotions go, and they might just realize, okay, I can keep playing without that item, and they move on, and you lose that revenue. And of course, this isn't an exhaustive list of everything you should monitor when you look at latency. This is just the main things that we've seen our best customers use when they're looking at latency. And so that's a little bit about why and what. Now I'm gonna hand over to Parker to kind of go into that demo and get more in the nitty gritty. So over to you, Parker.
All right, thank you, Nathan. So I'm going to talk a little bit about sending metrics to your hosted Graphite or Metricfire account. So we offer something called our hosted Graphite agent, which is just a simple way to get your metrics into hosted Graphite. This is a simple way to securely send your metrics over HTTPS, and it's a very quick, easy way, minimal setup. And this is unique to hosted Graphite, and you won't find something like this with an open sourced version. We also support Prometheus, which people may use to monitor latency, but we're going to talk a little bit more about our Graphite solution today. And this hosted Graphite agent is based on a popular diamond exporter, and this is a popular system for gathering low-level system metrics. A lot of these metrics are beneficial when looking at latency, and most DevOps engineers will be familiar with a Diamond Exporter or something similar. All right, so we're also going to talk a little bit about how to create alerts in hosted Graphite. These are going to be really crucial for monitoring what's happening, as well as being informed for when your latency is not where you expect it to be. As Nathan mentioned earlier, if you can't see a problem, you won't be able to fix it. And we alert on ingestion, which means our alerts are much quicker than our competitors who create their alerts and monitor their alerts on the backend storage side. So by creating alerts on latency metrics, your team would be able to quickly see an issue arise and add the additional resources when needed, whether that's servers, databases, or load balancers, or something else. This is a quick way to help the problem on the front end versus waiting for something to go awry and you see it once all your customers are already leaving. And I'm going to do a quick live demo. Perfect. Can you see this, Nathan?
Yes, looks great.
Perfect. Okay. So this is an example of one of our Grafana dashboards and something similar to what you or other customers may see as well. So going through here, we'll take a look at this first latency graph. If you're familiar with Grafana at all, this is a very similar, nearly stock Grafana. So a lot of the functions are the same. So you'll go in here, and this down here is where you're going to add your metrics that you want to query. So for us, we have application latency metrics that we're monitoring, and this $ server is actually one of our template variables, which you'll see up here. So this is just a quick and easy way to select multiple, in this case, servers for us to monitor instead of having to create 2, 10, 20, 100, however many servers you have. You don't have to create that many graphs. You can have them all on one, and you can quickly select between the two or however many you have. And then moving down through here, this is where you're going to select some more customizable options. So in this case, we're looking at a line graph. You can quickly change that to a bar graph, just points, whatever you like. We'll keep it at a line for now. And then moving down, this is where you're going to label your axes and change the units, see how you want to scale it. So for latency, you're looking at time usually. Right now it's in seconds, but you can change that to milliseconds if you want. Depends on what you're looking for. And down here, this is the where you'll have your legend options. So we have them set up right here. Just turn it off, easy. See it as a table. And then you'll also be able to look at it when you hover over the graph as well. And then this is just going to be where you title your graph as well. And then this is Grafana alerts. We have our own alerting, so you won't ever need to use that feature. And then going back, you'll see down here, this is another way to visualize your data. This up here was just a simple line graph. These are gauges where you'll get a quick snapshot of what you're looking for. So in the AWS West region, you'll see the latency is currently at 7 seconds. These are pretty generic numbers, so 7 seconds for you may be way too high, but the good thing about gauges is you can quickly customize what you're looking at. So let's say 15 seconds is the threshold you want to look for. Anything above 15 will turn red. If you want to set this to 2 seconds, you'll down to 2, and since we're at 7 seconds, it turns red. And this is just a quick way to see what you're looking for without having to dig into this graph anymore. So that was our Grafana demo. And now moving into the alerting section, this is going to be the main dashboard you see when you log into your hosted Graphite account. We will go into more of this in later webinars, but for now we're going to look at the alerting feature here. And you'll see this is where you'll find all of the alerts you've ever created. Here is an example one we created for that graph I just showed you. So going through here, you'll see this is the criteria. So the condition you're monitoring against. This is going to be the metrics you're looking at. And then this will be any description you give it. And down here, are all of the times your alert either triggered or recovered and the different values associated with that. Going into editing alerts, the name you want to give your alert, something descriptive. For us, latency, simple, easy to read, easy to understand. These are the metrics, or this is the metric you're alerting against. The description I talked about. Under alert criteria, this is going to be where you set the condition. So anything above 10 is going to cause an alert. These are our different notification channels. So we offer many different alerting integrations, whether that's Slack, email, webhooks, PagerDuty. We have various ones. You'll be able to find that on our documentation as well. So here we have our email demo account notification channel, which just means every time an alert triggers, it will send us an email. Scheduled mutes are something a little bit different. This is for anytime you have a routine system update or some time where you know your alerts are not going to be accurate. So if you know you're going to be resetting a system, you don't really want to monitor your latency for specific functions at that point because they're not going to be realistic production values. So here you can set those scheduled mutes so that on, let's say it's a Sunday morning at midnight, you'll be able to skip over an alert for however long. And once that scheduled mute ends, it will start alerting again if you meet that criteria. And then down here, the alert notification interval, you can set this to either a time frame or on state change, which just means every time your alert triggers from alerting or back to recovered, it will send you a notification either way. And then you can just hit save alert. And perfect, we're back here. So Nathan's going to talk a little bit more, but I hope this demo was helpful. Back to you, Nathan.
Thanks, Parker. That was great. Let me take it back over. All right. So Parker just walked us through a little bit of our app, and this is just a quick case study of one of our great customers, Hype Games. They're a mobile gaming developer. If you want to read the full case study, it's over on our website at metricfire.com, and you can read more about it. But just to give you an overview, the team at Hype Games, they're in the middle of building and testing, like I say, their new golf mobile game. And just like all of us, that team wanted to make sure that the game was performing up to their standards before they launched. Because they knew if they sent that mobile game out into the universe without it being ready, if they had slow server requests, the page loads were coming really slow, they were going to lose customers and get bad reviews right off the start, which is no good for a mobile game, as we know. And so they were trying to monitor this and see the latency they wanted to see, but they're having trouble setting up their monitoring the right way. They need a customized way to set up their monitoring. And so finally, they realized that they could use Metricfire to create those custom metrics and those custom graphs and dashboards. That way they can see exactly the data they need to dive into the performance of their mobile game to make sure it's performing up to their standards. And they're able to tweak and fix it, get it ready for launch. And they're able to launch it with peace of mind, knowing that they fixed everything and knowing that they were monitoring for the right metrics. They could see if something was going on with their server requests or page loads, and they would be alerted to it and be able to fix it right away. And like I was saying, feel free to jump over to metricfire.com to read more about Hype Games and their case study. And so that kind of wraps up our webinar. Once again, my name is Nathan. I would love to talk to you if you saw anything during this webinar that looked like it could be a good fit for you and your company. We'd love to talk more. My email is nathan@metricfire.com. This is my phone number, or feel free to jump over to metricfire.com and submit a request for a demo, and we can show you more of our app and how we can help. And so let's finish with a couple questions. We're open up to the floor. Feel free if you have anything about what we went over, or any questions in regard to Metricfire in general. So we'll give you a few seconds to type those in the Q&A section. All right, it looks like we got our first one in. Yeah, thank you for this question. It is about Metricfire. This person asked, why should I go with Metricfire versus hosting it and doing all this open source setup myself? So that's a great question. That's something we get asked every day. Metricfire, we do all the heavy lifting for you. Yes, you could go and set up all this open source software yourself, figure out how to set up correctly, and then hire someone to manage it for you. But for most teams, they don't have the expertise, and they don't want to go through the headache of having to monitor their monitoring system. You know, they just want to monitor their app or their website, their servers, whatever it might be. They don't want to have to also worry about their monitoring system going down. And so we take away all that from you. You know, we have everything set up already. You sign up with us, within minutes, you're up and running. And you don't have to worry about it crashing. If you have questions, concerns, we're here to help. We have a team of experts like Parker, who are just an email away. They can help you troubleshoot something, help you set up a dashboard the right way, or just help you figure out the best way to monitor your systems. And so that is just some of the ways that some of the advantages of us over open source. Of course, there's a lot more, and feel free to reach out to me personally if you want to dive in more detail about this. I'd love to get on the phone and talk to you more about it. All right, so let's look for another question. All right, looks like we have a couple more coming in. There, this one's for Parker. Parker, this person wants to know, besides latency, what do you suggest monitoring for mobile games? Like, what's the most important things to monitor?
All right, great. Well, yeah, that's a great question. We have seen this before, and from our other mobile game customers and our own knowledge, we see that some of other important aspects to monitor are your revenue. So when in these games, customers make purchases, and sometimes you want to be able to track kind of in an instance roughly what that revenue looks like and how much money you're bringing in. And we offer a solution for that as well. So that can be sent as a metric and monitored and visualized in our system. And another component is uptime. So we talked about a little bit about latency, which would be how quickly these actions are being processed, but uptime just monitors whether or not your system is operable. So if you want to see a certain aspect of your system or your network, whether that's a load balancer, whether that's different servers running, we, even in our own company system, we monitor uptime consistently. That is something we find very valuable, and especially when it comes to a mobile game, that is one thing that is imperative that you are monitoring, just so that you have the knowledge of whether or not your system is working. This kind of goes back to Nathan's previous talking point about what you can't see, you can't fix. If you don't know that your system is fluctuating in its uptime, you can't fix it. So that's just another way to monitor the current status of your mobile gaming system or anything else in general as well.
Great. Well, thank you for the answer, Parker. It looks like that is all we will have time for. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Parker. Parker at metricfire.com. If you have any technical questions, anything else, just feel free to go over to our website, metricfire.com. We have great blog posts there going over best practices, in the DevOps and monitoring world that will sure to help you on your journey. Yeah, and once again, thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure going through this webinar with you. And we will be doing 2 more in this series of mobile games. And so please watch out for those invites. We should be doing them in the next couple of weeks. Thank you and have a good rest of your day.